Hey everyone, welcome back to Is Your Six Covered? We're doing a live broadcast, having some fun. Gonna learn some mechanical advantages, and how to understand mechanical advantages is the important part, I would say. And I gotta wait for this thing to start so it doesn't talk, because it always wants to talk because of the delay. Looks like we're getting rolling here.
Advantages is the important part, I would say.
And all right, we'll mute that. Get everything organized here. And we already got quite a few viewers out there. Appreciate it, as always. And some of you guys may know how this works. We're going to talk about the T method and how it works, but we are going to understand the T method when we get done, or that's at least our objective for tonight, is to learn what the T method is and understand, looking at rope, how to figure out what the mechanical advantage is. Excuse me. A lot of people try to count the amount of ropes, and I'll show you later that that doesn't work. But with that said, we are going to learn a few things before we get going into mechanical advantage, and the reason why we're going to need to understand these before we start. So with that said, some of the stuff I'm going to tell you about is rules, basically like a rule of thumb, something to remember by, but there could be a circumstance where it's not always applicable. So for instance, when you tie a rope, and I'll get into the board here and we'll draw up some systems and stuff, but when we talk about an anchor, turn off my phone. Sorry about that. So when we talk about an anchor, we can try to remember how things work. So when we have a mechanical advantage system, and just to kind of get an idea or grasp how that should work out, on most cases, you're going to be able to go, okay, the rope is tied off at the anchor. And when you think of anchor, you can make a sign, an A sign, and that gives you an even number. So most times when you tie a system up and you tie it to the anchor and then build your system from there, you're going to end up with an even number. So a 2 or anchor, meaning 2, you could have a 2 to 1, a 4 to 1, a 6 to 1, and so on, an even type of number. Now when you tie a system to the load and you build your system going the other way, you have an L, right? And you have a 1. So that's where you're going to find an odd number, a 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, so on. So that's something to think about as we're building the rope system. I'm going to build a system, and I'm going to give you guys time to try to figure out if you can guess the answer, so that you will understand if you have figured out how the system of figuring out the T method works. So it's a tension unit. It's a way of measuring tension. So the reason why we build mechanical advantages, whether you're lifting, say, an engine block off of, it's all blurry because my hands move. If you're moving an engine block, say lifting it up in order to get it into a car, you may not have the strength to hold that motor while the person puts the vehicle under it, or you bring it over. So that's an example of reason why knowing mechanical advantage, you have the ability to, say, pull a vehicle out of stuck in mud or something, and you have a nice tree there you can use as an anchor, but you're stuck, you're spinning your tires, and it's just you. You may be able to have rope in your truck per se. You might be able to figure out a way to make mechanical advantage enough to actually pull your vehicle out of the mud. So there's lots of uses for knowing how mechanical advantage works. And in the rescue side of things, or the rope rescue side of things, it becomes important. It becomes so important that we can gain so much mechanical advantage that we can actually start ruining equipment. If we have a rope down the side of a cliff or a hill, and there's rescuers down there, and they're bringing a victim back up, and that basket gets stuck, say it gets wedged into a rock, and it's dark and we can't see them, and the radio communications are bad, or whatever the case is, we can build enough tension on that system to actually make it fail, for things to slip, break, crack. and so on. So we need to stay within certain parameters, and we'll get into that a little later. But we call it the rule of 18, and I guess I can dive into it right now. The rule of 18 works like this. When you build a mechanical system, you want to make sure that the however many people you have pulling compared to what your mechanical advantage is stays below 18 or below. So let's just say we have a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage and we have 5 pullers or haul team. We're at 15, right? So we're within the rule of 18. So that's how that works. You could have a, it's all going to depend mathematically. 3-to-1 with 6 people pulling and so on. You just want to stay within the 18. So that's how that works. So before we get started, there's 3 different types of mechanical systems. You have a simple system, a compound system, and a complex system. The difference between a simple system that we'll start off with is it's simple, meaning it's just a basic, could be a basic Z rig, and it's just basically 3 lines looking like a Z. One side's the anchor, one side's the load, and then there's a few items in there to gain mechanical advantage. Okay, now pulley is something that we use. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but just in case you're not, it's basically a wheel that a rope travels through that has an attachment point that we can click onto another part of the rope in order to capture that. And anytime a pulley is moving in motion, when you're pulling on the system or hauling on the system, it gains mechanical advantage. If you have a pulley in the system that is only stationary, say it's tied to an anchor, which it obviously would be, it's just a change of direction. So as we start building these, you're going to have to remember that some pulleys sitting there are not moving. So remember where the load is, and remember where the anchor is, and remember that only some are moving. And I'll try to put an arrow to show you. And then after a little bit, you'll be able to figure out how it works. But before we get started, we got quite a few viewers already, and I'll go through here. So let's start at the top. Fuzzy to You was the first one in. So thanks for showing up. We got Frank L. You got Cartesian Gorilla. Let's see, we got a few more here. And Pig Boy showed up. All right, let's get this party started. All right, so that's it. Thanks for showing up. We've got quite a few people that are either watching on Google or they're just not chatting. Oh, BC Trucks Rebuild Repairs here as well. Thanks for showing up. So we'll get started. So the first things first, when you have a rope, let me grab a rope real quick. There it is. All right. We'll just use this as a rope. A 1-to-1 mechanical advantage is I'm pulling this way, right? That's a 1-to-1. There's no mechanical advantage in the system. I tie a rope to a truck, and I get another truck, and I pull it out with a tow strap, say. So you got a 1-to-1 mechanical advantage, which is no advantage. All right, as you move on, we're going to do a 2-to-1, and I'll start getting on the board here. But basically, think of the reasons why you might want mechanical advantage. I can give you a good example. My father-in-law, I think he got it free, but he got this big concrete waterfall, like bird feeder waterfall thing, but it weighed probably just a crap ton of weight. And he had a piece of that electrical pull line, that yellow nylon rope, but he had a whole spool of it and he didn't want to cut it. So I had to come up with lots of different ways to make mechanical advantage and basically lower it down the truck with some wood in order to without breaking it. So using mechanical advantage, you can actually lower stuff as well if it's too heavy. It's not always, you don't always build mechanical advantage to haul something. I was basically capturing. I had to build a mechanical advantage to capture enough weight with my body in order for the thing not to fall and crash and crack up in his driveway. So there's another reason to know mechanical advantage. So we'll get started, and hopefully this works out. I might have to bring the camera closer, but we're going to do the best we can. And it looks mighty dark in here, but that's what we got to work with. So hopefully you can figure it out. So here's an anchor. Let me make sure all this gets on camera. Let me see. Give me 2 seconds here. Booger Balls is here. Special Corky's here. Thanks for showing up. Let me just wait. I'm waiting for the lag to figure out how far up the screen the camera's reaching. Okay, so there's the anchor. And we'll do this as a pulley. Actually, we'll use a different color so you can see it. It's probably going to be look the same on camera. So there's the pulley. And here's the load. Let's see, make sure I'm not in the way here. Hey, Rick Thomas. All right. So now I have a rope, and it's tied off with a knot. A figure eight on a bite, more than likely. Comes up and over, and this is my haul team. Okay, the rules we talked about was if you don't have a pulley moving, you're not gaining mechanical advantage. You're only gaining a change of direction. So this guy here, he hauls this weight, right? And we'll say the load is 100 pounds. This being tied to an anchor, the A is anchor, try to remember that the whole time ago, is not going to move because it's tied to an anchor. The anchor could be a big tree, it could be a vehicle, it could be anything that you would consider bomb-proof that would hold the load that you're going to use. And hopefully quite a few times that as well. So give yourself a safety factor in there. All right. So we're just pretending this is 100 pounds. So now if this guy pulls this way, this will go up. But in order to move this up, he's going to have at least 100 pounds. But he's going to need a little bit more in order for this to move because there'll be a little bit of friction here in the pulley. And this could be a carabiner. If you don't have pulleys, it's going to make your rope pinch around that a lot. But if you don't have anything and that's all you have, this could be just a carabiner. You know, you can clip it into the carabiner right there if you don't have a pulley. So this is a 1-to-1. There's really no mechanical advantage, but you are getting a change of direction. So that's your only positive is, instead of the guy being here, say this is a cliff, he can't so much say pull this way. Maybe there's a road and then another cliff on this side. But if he changes direction, he could at least stay on the road and pull the load up. Okay, so that's a 1-to-1 with no change of direction. All right, it's a 1-to-1 with a change of direction. So if you guys are confused right now, give the pull team a mohawk. Next one, Frank. All right, so do you remember when I said load is usually even, odd? Having the rope tied off here with the figure eight on a bite or whatever the case is kind of would tell you that you're going to be an even number, so, or an odd number. So that would be where 1-to-1 would have told you that leaving from here would have been an odd number. Okay, now if I would have done it the other way, and we'll do it the other way right now to show you. Now we have an anchor, which you would think is even, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. 4-to-1 ratio. No, we haven't got there yet, Rick Thomas. Like a block and tackle, maybe. All right. So you have an anchor, and that 8 represents the figure 8 on a bite. Now it goes down, and it's going to go to a pulley, and here's the load. So this is a pulley, and it's going to go back up to the haul team with the Mohawk. All right. So now you know that A, meaning anchor, is even. More than likely, about 98%, because there'll probably always be a case where it doesn't work, but it should. You're going to have an even number. So now the rope goes down to the pulley and comes back up. Now the rule of figuring out if you're gaining mechanical advantage is to have a moving pulley. So this pulley, as the Mohawk man is pulling this up, this span's going to get shorter. So you're going to have a moving pulley, which means you have mechanical advantage, right? So now we need to figure out what type of mechanical advantage we have. Now, in order to do that, we use what's called the T method, and it's a measurement of tension in units. So here's the pulley again. Here's the rope. So in order to gain mechanical advantage, we have a pulley that's moving, but we need to know what we have. We're not sure yet what we have. So how we do this is we start at the end of the rope, where the rope bag could be. Here's the rope bag. So this rope just kind of goes around into that bag right there. So you always start at the rope bag. And for every tension unit, so we're going to go 1. It's kind of like algebra, where X is always 1 until you figure out what it is. With rope, it's always T1 until you figure out what it is. So this guy puts in 1 tension unit, one tension unit. He's pulling that way. We go like this. We go 1 in and 1 out. Gives you 2 at the pulley, which is the load. So this is the pulley. All right, and here's the load. So you have right here, 1 in, 1 out gives you 2. Then you keep going 1 in, back to here, which dead ends into the anchor. So the anchor can't move, or it shouldn't move, because then you're going to have some issues. But that's how you figure out mechanical advantage. So this system, we got to start out very easy and simple in order to make this work. 1 in. Now, if you don't understand this, I'll give you a few seconds to tell me, and we'll do it again. If you guys got it, we're going to move on. That'll give me time to have a little bit of Arizona iced tea. That'll give me time to show off my new hat. What the hell happened to my screen? Is the internet that bad? Let me give it a second for it to pop back on. What the heck happened? Let me refresh. Hopefully we're still alive here. Yep, I think we're still alive. All right. So if anybody's got any problems, so yeah, here's a here's a new hat. Here's your 6 covered hat. We got red ones I had made. I'm not selling them. I got a shirt, kind of like my black one, but I went tan. But tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you like them. Just a little something different. Have a little fun with it. Might as well wear a hat that represents me instead of buying some hat that represents somebody else. So let's get going. So no one's saying anything, so I'm going to continue on. So that's a 2-to-1, right? Tied off with the anchor, it's even. You know that much. You have a moving pulley. You have one tension in, one tension out. Gives you a 2-to-1 to the load. All right, so we did a 1-to-1, a 2-to-1, and now we'll do a 3-to-1. So we have a load. This pen's dying on here. We got a load here. That's where it's going to be tied off at. It's going to go to the anchor and go around. This is a pulley. This is the anchor. Now from here, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to actually add, thanks for saying that, PG. Thanks for that. Oh, Frank L likes it too. We're going to put a pulley here. There's going to be a carabiner. And then right here is a prusik clipped into the carabiner. Now, before I even start, some of you guys may know what this is. Why don't you go ahead and put an answer in there, and we'll see how you guys are doing so far. So I'll give you a second. I gotta wait for the delay from live to YouTube. So here's the man again with the mohawk. And he's pulling this way. Tell me what you guys think it is before we teach it. Some of you might know what it is, maybe not. But I'll give you another 10 seconds or so. Middle eye insert. I don't know what that means. Unless you're talking about the pulley here. So here's a carabiner tied to a pulley. He's pulling this way. 6, you really should think about doing some instructing. That's what I'm doing right now. All right. So here's how this works. Oh. Close, Frank. You're right with the advantage, but we're not so much going to compound it yet. Well, I guess you could say 3 times 1 is 3. But Frank L out there knows what he's talking about. So here's how this works. You have a tension unit again, and he's pulling this way. So we have 1 in, 1 out. But this right here is now capturing 2. So there's 2 there. Continue on. Don't try to shortcut these. They're going to get pretty difficult pretty soon, so you got to do it the right way. So you continue down. This is 1, 1, 1. Non-moving pulley. No advantage, just to change the direction. 1 continues. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1 plus 2 gives you 3. So you have a 3 to 1. So your answer is the 3 to 1. Now, while this picture is up here, now we'll talk about it later. Don't want to get you guys confused. Where's my eraser at? All right, has everybody got that? So we'll keep all this. I'll fix the rope here. So there's the whole team. And then we're going to add on a few things. So we got a prusik again, going to a carabiner with a pulley. And then we have a prusik going again to a carabiner with a pulley. So now this goes to an anchor as well. So that goes to that pulley. This goes to that pulley. These two are still stationary, so they're not moving. Not moving. I'll just do that. No move. All right. These ones are not moving. Now, if you guys are sitting there, don't be embarrassed if you're not understanding it. Tell me now before we move on, because it gets a little complicated after this one. At my job, the heavier it is, the more I find is the best. There you go. All right. So this guy's ready to pull, but he wants to know what the mechanical advantage is. So he wants to know if he can pick this up. So let's just say this is 900 pounds, and he can lift and he can pull 100 pounds. Is he going to be able to do it? Is he going to be able to pull the rope and be able to actually lift the load? No anchor for the two pulleys. These two are on an anchor, and these two are moving pulleys. So the blue equals moving. Pulleys. No anchor for the two pulleys. All right, I'll give you guys a couple more seconds here, and then we'll get started. Now remember, you can't count ropes. And the reason why you got to learn the T method, or you should learn the T method, is because in order to make this work, and you say you really need to know what the load is. So I got one guess out there, Pig Boy, saying it's a 4-to-1. So the first thing, Pig Boy, is the knot is at the load. Okay, and this is where this whole rule comes in. So could you possibly have a 4-to-1 if it's tied off at the load? I don't know when you showed up, but at the load you should have even numbers, odd numbers, I mean. So 4 is not an odd number, so more than likely that answer is wrong. well, it is wrong, but when the load is, or when the knot is tied off to the anchor, then you're going to end up with your even numbers, your 2, 4, 6s, stuff like that. All right, so I gave you guys enough time. Our haul team here, he can pull, let's just say 101 pounds to make it easier, for the sake of argument. He's pulling one tensioning unit, so the tensioning unit is going to be 101 pounds. So 1 in, 1 out. So here's 1 and 1. Gives me 2 right here. Okay. Now I forget about that 2 for now. And I continue on. The 1 travels up, goes around to a stationary pulley. So I don't have anything there. But the anchor is really getting 2 as well. That's why you need a bomb-proof anchor. Goes up, comes back down. The 1 plus the 2 gives you 3. Okay, so now you have a 3 in, 3 out. Gives you 6 right here. I'm writing sideways, but that's a 6. The 3 continues on. So now you have 3 more at the anchor. The 3 travels down and hits a 6. So 3 plus 6 is 9. You have a 9-to-1 mechanical advantage. And the load team right here with the Mohawk, I think that Frank or somebody Rick wanted to give him a Mohawk, basically pulled 101, can pull 101 pounds. So in turn, he gained 9. So we'll just call that 909 pounds. So that means the load actually went up. He was able to haul that. Now, when you build mechanical advantage systems, and we're going to get into some, and you're going to start getting these crazy numbers like 32-to-1, 27-to-1, so on. There's a point where you are burning up so much rope, because for every foot he pulls, for the most part, well, no, for every 9 feet he pulls, the load's only going up 1 foot. So if you have the people available, you can keep a simpler system in mind, because then you don't have, if this was a 3-to-1, he would only, and there was more people on it, they would only be pulling 3 foot for every foot going up. So doing this way with this one gentleman here is going to take longer, but maybe he's the only one there. So maybe that's how he can fix pulling the Jeep out of the mud, or whatever the case is. That may be his only option, because he's by himself out in the forest or something. So that's why it's important to have some carabiners and some rope maybe when you're out 4-wheeling or whatever the case is. So that is a 9-to-1. Now, where we get into compound, this is a compound. Let me get rid of all this stuff here. And since I have it up there still, things to think about is this anchor, right? I have 3 in, and I also have a 2 in, which is 5. So when you start coming up with a system where you need to haul something, that's why it's so important for your anchor to be bomb-proof. Because it started with 1 in and 1 out. That was 2. The 2 plus the 1 coming around gave me 3. Right? And then down here was the 3 plus the 6. But on the anchor side of it, it needs to be able to hold that much. Actually, it needs to be able to hold more than that or it'll fail. All right, so back to the three different types of mechanical systems. You have a simple, a complex, and a compound. Now we have a compound system right here. And when you think of compound, you think of timesing something. So originally when we had a 3-to-1, it was considered a simple system because it was a simple system. Now when we build something like this, where we have something compounding on something else, we can basically multiply those. So you basically have a 3-to-1 on a 3-to-1 gives you 9. 3 times 3 is 9. But when you're doing tensioning units, it's better not to try to do the math that way because you need to just bring everything forward all the way down the rope in order to get the correct number. When people start adding stuff up or multiplying stuff is when you have the ability to screw up. A lot of people, when they're building these, will go 1 in, 1 out, gives me 2 here. They bring the 1 in. It captures the 3. They go 3 in, and then they go back to the 1. Once it's 3 in something, it's 3 out of something. They forget to continue on with whatever the number is. So the reason why I put the number here is because the 1 comes down and makes that a 3. If you touch the 2, now you know it's 3. So it's 3 in and 3 out, gives you 6 here. But some people will go back to 1. They'll say 1 in, they'll go there, there's 6 there, and then they'll start going 1, and then that would be a 7. And that's not what it is. Because the 3 continues on all the way around, goes around the non-moving pulley, which is change of direction, goes down. 3 plus 6 is 7, 8, 9. What? 7, 8, 9? What a mean number. All right. So who's completely lost right now? Who's having troubles? All right, so now we talked about compound systems. Now we're going to talk about complex systems. So when you have a load over here and you're hauling it this way to an anchor, and you have mechanical advantages like we just had, and they're both moving in the same direction, you're going to have a compound system. All right, compound system. That's where you could kind of say you're multiplying. But as I'm teaching you this way, don't multiply, just count the T method, and then you'll understand how that works. So that is a compound system. That's where some might say to multiply. Now, a complex system is when I have pulleys that are moving in opposite directions. So if I have a pulley traveling this way, and I have a pulley traveling this way, then I have a complex system. So that's the difference. There's 3 types of mechanicals for rope. Simple, compound, and complex. So that's pretty simple. There's only 3 of them, right? So right off the bat, if you saw some type of rope system and you're looking at it and you said, okay, if I pull it this way, I'm gonna have a pulley that goes this way and another pulley that goes the same way, I could say, okay, I got a compound system. Now the rope is tied off to the load, so now I know that it's probably going to be an odd number. So now I'm working my way on trying to figure out what the answer is going to be. I haven't figured out what the mechanical advantage is yet, but I figured out that I have a compound system. I have a system that's tied off with the load, so I know that it's going to be an odd number. So I'm already halfway, the battle's already halfway there. So you go through here and you start counting all your tensioning units, and you get down here and you get to an even number when you're thinking, well, it's tied off at the load, I should have got an odd number. Then you may say, well, hold on, I need to start over and try again. All right. You guys got to kind of tell me where you are when it comes to if you understand this or not. So, let me see. Oh, damn. Hold on a sec. The wife, she's across the United States, and she says the heater's broken now. She smells smoke. Not much I can do 3,000 miles away. So give me 2 seconds to tell her to turn it on. All right. Hopefully she doesn't keep texting me. I don't mind helping her, but it kind of sucks when you're on a live chat. All right. So with that said, we are going to continue on. So you guys tell me what you think. Let's do a roll call. I need a roll call to see if you guys are still here. I obviously got more viewers now, but I want to make sure you guys are on board here. If I move on, it's no point if you're going to be lost. So I don't mind doing something again if you guys are having trouble. Still need heat down south. Wow. Yeah, actually, it hailed on her yesterday. It says crazy little storm coming in, which is kind of crazy. All right. Where are you guys at when it comes to this? I'm going to wait for some answers so I don't move on. I don't want to leave you guys in the dust here. All right. Come on now. Give me some answers. All right, so I'm going to do a test then. I'll see what you guys have learned so far. Because I need to know if you're with me still. So here's the load. Here's the anchor. I'm tied off here at the anchor. I come down to a pulley, and I got my guy right here with the mohawk, and he's pulling the rope. So what kind of mechanical advantage is that, guys? Doesn't each pulley need an anchor as opposed to being part of the mechanism? Doesn't each pulley need an anchor? No, if you have a pulley to an anchor, it's just to change the direction. Only time you're going to gain anything is to have a moving pulley. All right. When you saw, well, I'll answer that question in a minute. What's the mechanical advantage here? Question mark to 1. None or 1. All right, who else is out there that can answer this question? Tell us what you think. Okay, PG, think of the rules. I don't even know if you can read that up there. What does the A represent when it comes to mechanical advantage? And what does the L represent when it comes to mechanical advantage? And then think about your answer again. So this is the pull haul team. They're pulling this way. This is tied off here at the anchor. And this pulley right here is moving because we want to get the load to go up. So what type of mechanical advantage do we have? There's a freeze warning tonight here. My wife's going to freeze her butt off tonight. You guys are shy tonight. What the heck? Your fingers are broken. Don't be scared. It's not a difficult test. You're not going to be graded on it. You won't fail, I promise. This is just a quiz. Everybody will get A's. Isn't that how they do college now? Everybody gets a good score, so nobody gets mad and offends anybody. All right, Stump Greenwood from South Crackalaki's in the house. What's up, buddy? Julia's in the house. Hello. Nope. So far, you guys are telling me I'm slow on the phone here. 6. Oh, you're on the phone. All right. I thought you first said no pulley. No, there's a pulley right here. This has to move. In order to get, this guy wants to get this load up here. He wants it to sit right here. So he has to pull this rope. But he needs to know what the mechanical advantage is so he can know if he can actually do it by himself. Okay, we're going to go. Okay, 1. So you got another answer out there of 1-to-1, no advantage. No advantage means what? It means a change of direction. When a pulley is not moving, when it's tied to an anchor, you gain no advantage. You gain change of direction. When you have a pulley that's moving in space, you are gaining mechanical advantage. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is where is it tied off? It's tied off at the anchor. See, that's the 8. That's the knot. Tied off at the anchor, which in turn equals even numbers. Remember when you turn an A over, it looks like a 2. So then you know, oh yeah, if it's tied off to the anchor, it's going to be even numbers. So we know that it's going to be, the answer is going to be an even number. So the numbers that you have given are odd numbers. So that's the first thing we need to change, is to understand that, again, when the knot is tied off to the anchor, you're going to end up with an even mechanical advantage. Now you have a pulley that's moving in space. It's going to head this way. Okay. So we know we're gaining mechanical advantage because we have a moving pulley. So if we use the T method, I have this guy right here, and he's going to give 1 tension unit of pulling this way. So as he pulls, keeps going down, we have 1 in, we have 1 out, which means the load is carrying 2. And you follow the 1 up to the end, you always keep going. And then you have 1 into the anchor, which doesn't really matter. So with this 2 here, you know that you have a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. There you go, Scott Smith. How you doing, buddy? All right, so there you go, Stump. Looks like we got some new people here. Thanks for joining. All right, so we're going to do the same ones we did earlier just to make sure you guys are all on the same page. It's like tying knots. If you can't figure out the first knots, there's no point going to the next knot, because if you didn't understand the family of 8s and you were tying the simple one and we're working on the harder ones, there's no point because you're gonna be lost. So we're gonna continue on. So now here's still the load. I won't change anything. I'm just gonna make it here's a pulley that's tied off to an anchor. Now what's that? What mechanical advantage is that? Let me type something in here just so I can tell when a new answer comes up. Okay, so now the hull team's right here. What mechanical advantage do I have? So again, I'll put this question mark. That's supposed to be a question mark. What's the mechanical advantage I have? Now remember, just use all the basics that I taught you guys. The knot is at the A, giving me an even number. Pulleys that don't move are a change of direction. Pulleys that move in space are mechanical advantage. So tell me what you guys think this is right here, mechanical advantage wise. Okay, so Frank put an answer. Let's hear some more answers. Yeah. All right, Stump Greenwood got it. He says it's still a 2-to-1, only there's a change in the angle of the hull team. Or better word would be change of direction. So well done, Stump Greenwood from South Carolina. Remember, a pulley that does not move, that's attached to an anchor, is only a change of direction. So Scott Smith got it as well. And the rest of you guys that are watching, put an answer in. If you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. We're all learning here. There you go. PG's got it, 2-to-1. All right. So now with that said, let's change it up a little bit. We're going to add a pressic, which is basically a 3-wrap piece of rope that bites onto the rope, and then it loops over here, clips into a carabiner, and the carabiner attaches to a pulley, and the rope goes around the pulley. All right. What type of mechanical advantage do we have here? So we're trying to figure out what the mechanical advantage is. Oh, you're doing good, Stump. I'll keep telling the rules as we go of all the different things you should remember. Frank L put all right, let's count with the T method. We got 1 in, right? This guy right here has got 1 in. He's pulling. Now, if there was 10 people here, it's still 1 in. Okay. Things we need to think about again, looking at some of these answers. The knot is still at the anchor. So when you have a knot at the anchor, you have an even number. All right, we have 1 in and we have 1 out. And I'll make the 1 look like an arrow because I got to continue on. In order for this to work, this has to hold both sides of it. So there's a 2. So the 1 goes in, hits a non-moving pulley. So you got 1 in and 1 out to the anchor, gives you 2 there. The 1 goes down and hits this 2. So now I have 3. The 3 travels along the rope. So I have 3 in this side and 3 in that side. The 3 continues on to the anchor. So before I say what the answer is, what's my answer? What's my mechanical advantage? Remember, I have 3 in and 3 out. Just like when I had 1 in and 1 out, and that put a 2 over here, what do you think this might be? A low-angle rescue class, you know how hard that would be on a computer? That would be almost impossible. All right, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds here to figure out what the mechanical advantage is of that rope. Not the rope, the system. What is the mechanical advantage? Fuzzy, do you put an answer? The question you got to ask yourself is the answer right? Julia says a 4-to-1. And PG says looks like it'll bind up. Nope, it won't bind up. It works just perfect. Stump Greenwood, he said a 6-to-1. And the answer is ready? Ding, ding, ding. There you go. So we'll do it again. 1 in, 1 out. That weight's got to go to here. So there's 2 right here on that prusik. The 1 continues on, nothing there, keeps going down. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 in, 3 out gives you 6-to-1. So that is it. Less stress on the system and rope with less strength needed to use. All right. Now, if this was 300 pounds, let's do this. Here's a cliff. And let's say there's a guy here, and we need to get him to go up, and he weighs 200 pounds. Now, if I had 6 guys here, or 6 whatever, 6 horses, 6 something, more than likely I wouldn't even need to build a mechanical advantage. I could throw a rope down to this guy, he puts it in his harness or whatever the case is, and then all 6 of these people pull. I have a 1-to-1 system and I don't need it. The reason why we do mechanical advantage is because, 1, we probably don't have enough responders on an engine or a truck or whatever the case is. We can always call in more resources, but we always basically utilize some type of mechanical advantage, because built into this mechanical advantage is safety factors and also the ability to capture the weight. So as you're going, to give you an idea, if this team of people, say all of a sudden, I don't know, earthquake or something, they fell down and they all let go of the rope, you need a way to capture your progress. So we put prusiks here with prusik minding pulleys, which are kind of square or triangular, so that if this guy fails or falls or trips or gets ran over or something, this brake right here is going to catch that. So that's why the reason why we use mechanical advantage. Now, if you use the one-to-one system and you guys just had you had some people pulling this guy up and over, well, if all of a sudden they fell or got ran over or whatever the case was, there's nothing to keep him from falling when he's almost to the top. He's going to fall back down to his death or whatever the case is. So we put in safety things called prussics in order to, once we pull, it captures the thing. Now the system here, say this is 300 feet down, right? There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going on. This right here is going to have to be reset. So as the guy says, the haul team hauls, we haul. At some point, this is going to get all up into here, and you're going to have it all binding up. So you're going to have to reset the system. So what you'll do is you'll stop. You'll say set the brakes. So a guy here will make sure that that's locked off. And all you do by that is push it forward. Make sure it's tight. Push it forward. Then all the weight is now sitting right here. All this right here is holding. This is holding all the load right now. Then you grab this one and you push it all the way to the edge of the cliff or whatever you can, as far as you can get, and reset the system. So that's how that works. Let me go back out here and see what everybody's got going here. 30 pounds pulled by each to lift the 200-pound guy. That makes sense. I'm not familiar. I thought the prussic was a pulley. So if you pull 6 feet of rope, the load moves 1 foot. Correct, Fuzzy, to you. On a 6-to-1 mechanical advantage, every 6 feet that this guy pulls, this is only going to go up 1 foot. Now, if it's a 32-to-1 or a 27-to-1, they're going to have to pull 27 or 32 feet of rope in order for that to go up 1 foot. So like I kind of said earlier, there's a point where you get your system's too overrated. There's too much stuff going on. And I guess it would depend on what you're trying to pull. But with that, we talked about it right in the beginning, and I know some of you guys just showed up. The rule of 18 is the important part. Nowhere in the system should I be over 18. What do I mean by that? Now, if I have a 6-to-1 like I have here, I cannot have more than 3 guys or gals, because 6 times 3 is 18. Now, if I have a 3-to-1, which could be the same as if I had a 3-to-1 with 6 people pulling, it would be the same thing. I have to figure out what mechanical advantage system I want to build to how many haul team people I want to use. Now, if you have a smaller amount of people, you're going to have to build a bigger system per se. Or if you have a ton of people, you may just need to build a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1. But in no case should you ever go over 18. So let me go back out here. A prussic is a sliding hitch. Yes, the longer the rope without tension bearing pulley, you can get more tension on the rope. Yes, the longer the rope without tension. I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you talking about this rope, Julia? The longer the rope here. Yeah, the longer this rope is, here's how it works. So here's that cliff again. And here's the guy. And then up here is the fire engine. And then we're going to use the fire engine or truck or whatever the case is as your anchor. we're going to have the system in here. Okay? So this thing's going to go all the way down here. And this is why having an odd and an even one's different. If I want just the knot to go down to the load, which this guy down here is considered the load, if I go the other way and I use the anchor, I tie off as the anchor, now I have to have this big loop right here. So if this is 400 feet, let's just say it's 200 feet. I'm using 400 feet of rope just to go down to the guy and come back up. So that's more than likely not going to be possible. Now it's doable, but depending on how much rope you have in your, you're going to eat up a lot of rope doing it that way. So that is where you may want to go to, that is where you may want to go to an odd number. So now I have the knot down here, and now that's only 200 feet of rope. Then I can build my mechanical system here. Now what I was trying to get at was each time these guys pull back, they're going to pull here, and at some point this is all going to get bound up in here. This rope is going to get shorter because it's pulling. This pulley is moving to the anchor, right? So let's say it's right there. You're going to have to reset. So these guys here, one of these guys is going to set the brake. That's a brake, which is a prusik hitch. The other guy's going to grab this one right here, and he's going to walk all the way back over to here and reset. And then the haul team is basically ready to haul again. So this will be all the way back here. Think of that as the edge of the cliff. He brought it all the way back to here, and now he can haul again. Or she can haul again. So that's how that system's going to go back and forth. And it may be 5-6 times because you're with this one, you're on a, what was this, a 9-to-1? No, 6-to-1. So this is a 6-to-1. So for every foot this guy moves up, 6 feet are still going to have to happen in here. So these guys are going to be heading back and forth for a little while in order to get him up. So that's the reason why parking your equipment too close to the edge of the road is going to suck, because you don't have enough workspace here to build your system. So now you may do this. You may have another anchor here, and this is going to go around to a pulley, and they're going to haul this way now. I don't know if that cuts all the way over, if you can see that. But now the haul team's going to have to pull this way instead of this way because they parked too close to here. This was the engine now. They don't have any workspace here. So now they got to pull, and this is the road. They're going to have to pull this way now in order for that to work. So that's why knowing how just to do a change of direction is going to help. Don't we all get a trophy? You guys all get a fake trophy. You get a YouTube fake trophy. So let's see how long. Can you guys tell me how long I've been yapping for? I would greatly appreciate it. I don't want to be talking too long. Probably go an hour or two, or hopefully you guys are catching on to this stuff. So something to think about when you are staging your equipment for a rope type of rescue is give yourself plenty of room. Now, some of the rules, and I'm sure when you have something like this and you're parked on the side of the road, say this is the second lane, right? Here's the northbound lane and the southbound and the northbound lane. And it's, say it's a windy road, someone went off the cliff. Your best bet is to shut the road down. Thank you for that, PG. 70 minutes, hour and 10 minutes. Just close the road down yeah, it's going to screw up stuff and delay stuff. But if you have the ability to close it down, chalk your vehicle and all that stuff, turn the keys off if it has keys or whatever the case is, don't leave them in there, hide them. So the vehicle doesn't, CHP shows up, move this equipment or whatever highway patrol you guys have. And someone tries taking off with it and it's actually attached to, all these rescuers and the victim and rescuers here. So those are some things you want to do. You want to make sure you chalk the vehicle, do all that, give yourself plenty of room of working space. You actually have someone tied off here that would be on the edge. Oh, pin's dying. Switching to another color. So you'd have the edge guy here tied off somehow so that he can't fall over, but he's going to be the one doing the commands, telling these guys to haul or to stop, and he's the one kind of looking over the edge, making sure everything's going good. So this is the edge guy. These are the haul guys. And then you can have, if you have people down there, which you should, you got a rescuers, and you got the victim. So that's how that works. If you guys got some questions before I get out of here, give them to me now so you don't walk away from this wondering if you wondering what I was talking about. So to recap some of the stuff until you guys have a question, and I'm trying to drive it home because if you can remember these simple things, you will be able to understand that it's either an even or an odd. You'll understand that a moving pulley is mechanical advantage where a stationary pulley is not. So the first thing, if the knot is tied to the anchor, you remember anchor like this, you go up, it's 2. So those are even. If the knot of the rope, if the end of the rope is tied, thanks Franco. If the end of the rope is tied to an L, tied to a load, sorry. An L, depending on which way you're looking at, is a 1. So you have odd. There's 3 types of systems. You have a simple, a compound, and a complex. Now, simple is just simple. That's some of the ones we did, 3 to 1, 2 to 1, simple stuff. A compound is when you have compounding stuff. So you have a system with a compounding another system basically on that gives you a compound. And when you have a complex system, you have pulleys that are moving in the opposite directions. You have a pulley coming from this way and a pulley coming from this way coming together in the system. You know that you have a complex system. So that's the only difference. So the pulleys can go this way and this way. They can be coming together. Compound is having pulleys, more than one pulley basically going in the same direction. And a simple just is basically a pulley going in that direction. What else did I talk about? So I hit those up. The other portion, just in case you forgot, fire and rescue should have a total jurisdiction over this type of scene. Why do they not? They do, for the most part, but you end up with some jackasses that want you to open the road up. And you just tell them no. And sometimes they'll argue and complain, but sucks to be them. And it depends on who that incident commander is. They got to be strong enough to tell them go pack sand. But if you get a weaker or a newer officer in there, they may be like, oh, okay, I'll try to figure that out. But okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was what was it? I got discombobulated. It was dang it. Oh, the ink. No, I talked about that already. Tensioning units. So here's the anchor again, the load. Let's tie it off at the load this time. Comes around to a pulley. Goes like this. And here's the prusik. Goes over here to this pulley. Goes like that. When you're doing the T method, always remember to start at the rope bag. If you're going to use the T method in order to figure out mechanical advantage, start over here and work your way to the load. Don't start at the load and work your way back, because you won't end up per se with the right answer. A tension unit, as always, starts off with 1. So you have a 1. You go to the pulley, you have 1 in and 1 out. Gives me 2 here. You continue on with 1 in, 1 out. Gives you 2 at the anchor. Remember, this is not moving. Anchor doesn't move. You continue on with the 1. 1 plus 2 gives you a 3 to 1. Now let's check to confirm we have the right answer. How do we do that? We do that by doing this. We do that by going, the knot is tied off at the load. And the load looks like a 1. And the 1 represents an odd number. Now I take that information, I go back up to my mechanical advantage thought of what I have, and I go 3 to 1. Well, that just happens to be an odd number, so more than likely that is correct. Now on the more of the ones where we get more technical with a lot of stuff going on, you may end up screwing up by not adding the numbers. So if this continued on and I was bringing 3 up and bringing 3 back, when you get to the point where you tie into the next prusik, you have to remember to continue on with that 3 and not start at a 1 again. That's where a lot of people screw up. Simple or compound machine? Let's see. HRM machine, weapons machinist is here. What's up? Scott Smith. Let's see. With a winch, multiply pull team by pound rating. Couldn't tell you with a winch. We don't use winches because we have live people on there. And if you were to get a rescuer that maybe got his foot jammed in a rock or something, with the winch, we would never know. We'd rip that firefighter's leg right off. So we always use human-made mechanical advantage. Is it faster and easier? Yes, but to the point of someone getting injured, it's not worth it. So that's the reason why we don't do it. Let's see. Fire and rescue should have total jurisdiction. Okay, I already read that one. I've seen videos of roid cops at fire scenes, or maybe it was supposed to be rude. Yeah, there's sometimes you'll see on videos, you'll see them where they actually arrest a firefighter and they take them to jail, and then when they get to jail, everybody looks at the officer like an asshat, like, what are you doing? Over and over, but it's really not going to help you. It's just a matter of maybe if you're still, if you still got questions on it, watch the video again, or maybe we'll do another one later. But it's fairly simple once you understand how it works. And that's I mean, it's not so much the easiest thing to learn, but it's not too difficult. Looks like my let's see, let me refresh here. It's funny, this thing keeps going out. All right, so with that said, you guys have an awesome day. Again, tell me what you think of the hats. Tell me if you like the black one better or the red one. And then I got my shirt here. That's it. So you guys enjoy the rest of the night. Have fun. I think I've met all of you guys on here, but a few. Scott Smith, thanks for joining. If you get a chance, maybe come on over, subscribe, share the video, you know, all that fun stuff. I'm sure you guys, I got 10 thumbs up, so you guys did a pretty darn good job on that. But take a look if some of you guys are looking into getting into the fire service. I have a series called Into the Fire, and it gives some great information on a person that's right off the street, that's kind of designed for someone that's is maybe possibly looking into the fire service as a career or even as a volunteer. You know, those guys do a bang-up job, same job, but maybe they do something else and just want to help the community, which is awesome. Gives those guys great kudos. But there's a lot of good stuff in there for probationary firefighters, how to get a job as a firefighter, and just basically what the fire department entails. Because a lot of people, they might spend a bunch of time in it and then find out that, yeah, I got my squeaky chair. They might figure out that, hey, that's not what I'm, you know, I can't do that, or I don't like the sight of blood, or whatever the case is. So, but with that said, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you showing up as always. And I need to oil this chair because it's squeaky. But you guys have a good one. So again, I'll go out to the external, say hi to all you guys and goodbye to all you guys. We got a Partisan Gorilla, Frank L, HRM Weapons Machinist. We got Julia Campbell, Scott Smith, Fuzzy to You, Fuzzy to You. Stump Greenwood, SC for South Carolina. Great guy. If you guys haven't had a chance to meet him, just like the rest of you guys, a lot of you guys I know a lot. You know, I've been knowing you guys for a long time. Who else we got there? Well, some of these are old, so I basically shouted out your names before. But again, I appreciate it. You guys have a great day. And remember, is your six covered? Like, share, and subscribe, my friends. There's got to be a reason to do all this. You guys take care.